So today we read some piece of Sosan Desa, and in it, it's mostly directed to Sunims. It's very short, and it says, we live on the food that comes from the blood and sweat of the farmers. Also, we wear clothes that comes from the hard work of the people who make the clothes. So our job is get enlightenment and live in a way that helps others. So then he said in the book, Chinese book, Transmission of the Lamp, it talks about one monk who didn't practice hard. Then next life he was reborn a mushroom, which humans eat to pay back the debt he has to all the work that farmers and clothes makers did so that he could eat his whole life. I told everybody maybe he was songi posat, something like, some good mushroom, and people eat that. So I think even worse than not practicing hard is no gratitude for what we get. The sign over there is 5 reflections, the wooden sign. And in many Mahayana temples, at every meal, they recite the 5 reflections. Sunim used to say, just hapchang and bow is already the 5 reflections. But sometimes it's good to hear about them because they help us get the correct attitude. And if you don't already know, the first one is reflect on the energy of all the creatures that went into this food coming in front of me. So that means the farmer and the insects in the ground, the bacteria and the earth, the water, the sunlight. And then the farmer, of course, grows and takes it out. Then the person who takes it to the store. Then the people in the store who present it and take care of it so you can buy it. Then the person who buys it and brings it to your house or the temple. Maybe that's you, the person who cooks it. And finally, somebody, like when we go to a restaurant, puts it in front of you. So first reflection is all the different creatures whose energy went into this food coming in front of you. And sometimes I go to restaurants and I see people they're very nasty to the woman or the man who serves the food. That's really stupid, They didn't cook it, they didn't carry it to their table, so you should appreciate that. Not only the cook and everything, but everything, earth, air, fire. We don't live water without those things. Then the second reflection is with what kind of mind, consider whether I deserve to have this food in front of me. What have I done that I deserve the energy of all these beings offering me something? Then third is consider with what kind of mind I receive this food. Am I thinking, like Gio's talk, I don't like this, I like this, I don't want this, I want something else. We all do that, but reflect on that, especially if we realize, like Gio mentioned, some people, they can't get any food at all. This is quite common. Even in Korea 70 years ago, there's a war. Then many people cannot get food. Many wars, people die because of no food, or the water's no good, or they get a sickness, not just a shooting. Often, the majority of people who die from disease, starvation in war. So we complain, I don't like this, I want something different. But compared to many people's situations, we're already so lucky, So consider, what mind am I receiving this? If we were starving person, almost any food would be okay, But we're not starving. We totally forget that. And only my like and dislike become strong. Fourth reflection is consider this food as a medicine, not as something to just make my desires happy. You know, consider it as medicine for the body so that I can live my life. In our case, so that I can practice. You know, everybody understands fast food. One reason people like it, it's fast. Another reason is, actually, it's not good for us. You know, there's something in the bread that it's like oil and sweets and things that just the body enjoys, just like a drug, you know. But a lot of it's not healthy. So, and you're not getting very good nutrition, so you want to eat more because your body doesn't really feel satisfied. So, Korea's not too bad yet, but definitely, I think it's just people's bodies are changing. Some is maybe mothers have better nutrition, more protein, more milk, and things like that. But other part is more garbage food, so bigger. America's unbelievable. And of course, the people in the most conservative states have the highest rates of diabetes, heart problems, obesity. We don't know how to take care of ourselves, and we don't know how to help others. We choose people who don't want to help others. It's very stupid. But eat. No appreciation at all. So that I worry for that kind of person, what life they will get in the future. Because still, even now, millions of people in bad situations. When it comes to food or water, this century, water will become a big problem. And a lot of people will die, you know. Also, big population. Already in India, one area, no water. The farmers, everybody has to leave. What happens if millions of people have to start moving? This is a human situation. So when we receive something, really consider, is this just for my tongue? Or, how am I receiving this food? Then the fifth one is, how will I use the energy from this food? You know, to make more bad karma or to practice hard, help others. In Shinwonsa, the first year we had kyolche, the second day of retreat, one of the Korean monks' older sister came, and she brought 7 big cakes, Western style cake, because she knew the Western people. And then we would serve them after lunch. First, each day we put out 1 cake, and we kept the other cakes on the maru because it was winter, it was cold. And Byokam Sunim, the old monk at the temple, came and gave us a talk. And he said, this is our first international kyolche in this area. It's before we had Musangsa, this other side of this mountain. And the most people this area, farmers, but they want to help and support you. So they bring things, sometimes we got boxes of apples and rice and things like that. But this lady brought cakes from the big city. And he said, some of these people are poor, but they want to offer it. So very important, we receive these things, eat them, then use the energy to practice. So that made everybody really happy to eat the cake. So right after lunch, they served cake. We finished the cake. Then the next day, 1 more cake, we finished it. So 7 days in a row, we ate 7 cakes. Then very interesting, about 1.5 months more into the retreat, some Korean came from Seoul. We had 29 people on retreat, mostly foreigners, monks and nuns and lay people. The temple had 4 monks and 2 kitchen bosamins. Then some Shindo member came from Seoul and gave the temple monks a big cake. But this is 31 years ago. Older Korean people then usually didn't like these sweet things, cakes and Western cookies. So Byeokam Sunim came to us and said, the temple monks received the cake. And they said, the sunbang, they did a really good job eating 7 cakes. So they want to give you the cake. And by then we're all like, nobody wants a cake, We all got ourselves sick eating cake, He said, so the temple monks want to offer this to you, so you must eat it all and practice hard. So that time we a little had to force ourselves. But it was a very good teaching, Then at one point, people had given us too much stuff. Lots of jars of peanut butter and bread and fruit, too much. So we couldn't eat it all. So Byeokam Sunim came to us and said, when people make offerings, it's not good to waste them, because that's their mind and their effort to support you. So you must use these things well. But you cannot eat everything they give you. That's okay. So in Gongju, there's a government hospital for poor people who have tuberculosis. So behind the hospital is a little Catholic church, little Protestant church, and a little Buddhist temple. So everything we cannot eat, we put in the temple car. Then Ipsum Sunim and one Korean monk go over there and give it to the monk for the poor people who live in the hospital. Then there's many good fruit and some coffee, and maybe they don't like a peanut butter and bread, but maybe they'll eat it, so give to them, So we did that. It was fun, but it was also a good teaching. Don't waste, If it's too much, then share it with somebody who doesn't have so much. This is very, very good teaching. That winter I was sick a few times, and I had to go to the village nurse. And a Korean nun went with me, and so I had to come back like every week, get some injection. Then in the village, she's like hired by the government, I guess. And so her family's given a house, and part of the house is like a clinic where the village people can come and get some treatment. Like we go to Dr. Kim in town, maybe before you go to a big hospital. Then she had a little 2-year-old. So each time I'd go, I'd bring some chocolate from the temple and give it to the 2-year-old. So I remember every time I'd come, she'd call the 2-year-old, Harabaji wasumnida. She called me Harabaji, grandfather. So grandfather arrived, So the kid was happy, of course. And moms always like it, I guess, if you make their kids happy. And then she was very interested in Westerners who come from Christian countries practicing Buddhism. So sometimes she's not busy, she would invite me in, and the Korean nun could translate. Then it turned out she belonged to the village church. She was Christian. But she was very interested in us. And we talk, and it was very nice. Then one day, I realized we have too much coffee. I don't know at Musangsa that's a problem. But that time, the coffee's not even good, It's that instant coffee, because it's 30 years ago. But people gave us too much because they're worried. Western people, they want coffee and peanut butter and bread, So cheese, terrible cheese, of course, but cheese, that stuff that's wrapped in plastic, slices. And Byeokam Sunim told us, I've been a monk more than 50 years, and I never asked a lay person for anything. But after you came, I called them up and said, I need bang, bread, 하고, cheese하고, peanut butter하고, I need. So he just asked them for the things we would eat, So I saw we had too much coffee. Then I thought, oh, this nurse is very nice. She goes to church. Maybe Sundays after church, they hang around and drink coffee together. So one week I went down and I took a bunch of coffee to her. Then I said, maybe for your church. Then that really gave her a big question, Buddhist monks giving a church coffee to enjoy? It's like really funny, Then the next time I went, she said, I was thinking about religion and love, and in my church, they always say love, 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 but they hate everybody. So that's not only other religions' problem. We also have that. Today, somebody in the temple said to me, I don't like this person. Then what struck me is, I don't think the person who said that is reflecting it all on themselves. Yeah, everybody has likes and dislikes, but we should really consider why, or what does that mean? I don't like. That's I. Buddha already said, I make suffering. What is that about? Also, what's that mean? The other person should change? No. The only person we can affect in the whole universe is ourselves. If we do that, if we digest our karma, then everything around us starts to change. Even if it doesn't change, it doesn't bother us anymore. This is very important. So even though we're monks or nuns or lay people practicing, if we don't reflect on ourselves, then next life we just become, if we're lucky, we become temple cat or dog. If we're not lucky, we become some wild cat nobody likes. And then you have to kill things to eat, even make a worse karma. So now this Wednesday is exactly 2 months of retreat finished. So 1 more month. 1 more month means a 1 month retreat beginning. Okay? So moment to moment, very important. Doesn't matter we're here 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, whole life. Moment to moment is very important.